My plan for this evening is to kind of walk us through a sort of fun, sort of weird, silly project that kind of along the way, I'll be able to show you a lot of the basics of using this program. And then we'll have some time to just kind of let you all experiment a little bit. I'll try to answer some questions. I feel like a lot of learning these programs is just kind of playing around with them. That's how I've done most of my learning. And sometimes it's you learn because you created a problem, maybe something got goofed up and you have to figure out how to fix it. So take all the pressure off yourself this evening. We're not really worried about creating the next thing that's going to be hanging up in the Met or anything like that. We're just trying to learn something new and maybe have a little bit of fun. If you come up with something at the end of this that you are really stoked about and you are really proud of, fantastic, but don't necessarily set yourself up for that. Just have some fun tonight. Ooh, somebody else join in. Ooh, chat. Okay. Sabrina's ready to go. Thank you, Sabrina, for letting me know. Are you set up over there? The Baker crew's set up and ready to go? Cool. All right. So what we're going to do from here is over on the left is kind of all the things we need to get started. We're just going to do create new. It gives a bunch of different options for sizes of your canvas that you're going to be kind of working on. I'm not really too worried about understanding all of that right now. You can set it to whatever size, but I'm just going to go with the full HD option there and go to create. Okay. So this is the whole program in here. Okay. We've got all of our tools and everything on the left. We've got a few more options on the top, or these different menus. And we're not going to cover everything today. That's going to be impossible, but we'll try to give you a handful of playful things that will let you do some cool stuff. All right. So this is a program that you can do lots of stuff on. You can draw with it, you can paint with it, but it's probably going to be the most fun to use it as an image manipulation program, or at least that's the way we're going to start today. So what I would like you to do is we're going to go up to File. Actually, no, first I'm going to open up another tab here, and I'm just going to do a Google image search of a person. Maybe it's a celebrity that you like. What we're going to do is we're going to take a picture of a person, a photograph of a person, and we're going to kind of mess it up a lot. So it's going to get a little goofy. It's going to get a little weird. So maybe pick somebody that you can have some fun with. I don't want us to be like mean about the way we manipulate the pictures. Maybe it's somebody that you like, and we're just going to have some fun. I'm going to work with one of my favorite actors here, Steve Buscemi. All right. So I'm going to go to image search here. And just some hints about doing some image searches. What you might want to do here is go over to Tool and then also click Size. And I'm going to do large. That way I know I've got a nice large source image to start with. It's a lot easier to shrink down with an image than to take a small image and go big with it. All right. I'll take this picture right here. Now, since this program is all set up online, it does work a little bit different in some ways. You could save the image to your desktop and open it from there and everything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the image. I'm going to go to Open Image in New Tab. And then from there, I'm going to copy this web address. All right. So does everybody know how to get that web address? Select the whole thing. I'm going to do Control-C to copy that. Okay. And then I'm going to go back into the photo editor page. Okay. I'm going to go to File, New Image. And you'll see it's giving me those same options as before when I started a new image, but I can also do over here, I can open an image. So that's, again, if you have the file on your computer already, So if you had a picture that you took or had on your computer, that's what you'd want to do. But since I'm just taking this off the internet, I'm going to load URL, click in there, and I'm going to paste it in there with Control V. All right, and then I'll hit load, and you'll see it opened up the tab with that picture. I've got that tab of that first sort of canvas that I started, and now I've got that picture. And we're going to end up adding several other tabs here as we kind of go along. But what I want to do is I want to take this whole picture and I want to put it into that canvas that I started with. And there's a lot of things in programs like this. There's 100 different ways you can do that. So when I show you a way to do it, that doesn't mean that's the one and only way. It's just maybe what I'm using right now. So I could use this marquee select, and I could grab everything that I want there. See, this is the one downside of the free version. You do get advertisements that pop up on the page, but again, for free, I'll take it. It's fine. So I could select what I want with that, or if I wanted to do, I could come up here to select and go to select all, or I could do the shortcut, and I will use shortcuts here from time to time, and hopefully you all get a little comfortable with at least some shortcuts as we go. I can also do Control A. All right, so that selects everything, and then I'm going to Control C again to copy, and then I'm going to go back to my canvas, and I'm going to do Control V to paste it in there. Okay, we follow me so far? All right, so go ahead and take a minute and get your picture of whoever you're working with uploaded onto your canvas, and then we'll move on from there. And you can either give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on, or type into the chat and let me know that you're ready to move on. If I can see the chat. Where did my chat go? If you have questions, go just chat them out and we'll try to walk you through it. Sabrina, it sounds like you have the right idea. That sounds okay. Let me think. Yeah, it sounds okay. I mean, could you tell me, like, does it look different from what I have? Is there something that you're confused by more specifically?
Does it match that one, Pete?
Yeah, it matches it.
Oh.
Okay. You're probably fine. We're going to get into a lot of different things, and not everybody's is going to end up looking exactly like mine. But if you've got the picture uploaded there, you're good. I'm going to go ahead and save my project while I'm at it. I probably should have done that maybe right from the get-go. I'm going to just give it a name. Just call it Funny Face, because that's kind of what we're doing. You can decide how you're saving it. I'm not too worried about that just yet. So that's just going to save what I have so far. Oh, I get a little ad every time I save. I see how they get you. Are we ready to move on? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, Sabrina's ready to move on. How about the Baker crew? Are we We doing all right over there? Got a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Cool. We will move on then. All right. So like I was saying before, we've got our toolbar over here on the left. You'll notice when you just like hover over something, it gives you a brief little sort of description of what that tool does. So a lot of this you can kind of play around and click around on your own, but we'll try to walk you through again most of the basic tools for getting started. So right now I've got my arrange tool selected. In different programs, it's called different things. So if you're using Photoshop or something like that, it might be called something a little bit different. That lets me move around the image. You'll also notice that when it's selected, the corners light up. So you can change the size. You can grab that thing at the top and change the angle of it. You'll also notice that whenever we select a tool over here on the left, that we get a different sort of number of options up here at the top that go along with that tool. So that's sort of like the different qualifiers or the different ways that you can use that specific tool. So like with that selected, I could just go right there and rotate left and get at a different angle. If you want to get real specific with the angle, you can play with that. You can flip, there's lots of little things that you can do with that are just playing with the size and angle of that image, okay? You'll also notice that when I am changing the size, it's doing a fixed size change, and that it's keeping the proportions the same. But if I wanted to do something a little wackier, if I didn't want it to be fixed, I could click free, and now I can go way skinny or go way wide with it, okay? I'm gonna just go back a step. The shortcut to go back a step is Control Z. And I'm just gonna leave it like that. I just wanted to show that tool. Let me think. I kind of had a sort of an order in mind of how I wanted to do this. All right. Next thing I think I want to do, we're gonna do another image search. We're gonna open up another image. Let's see here. Let's find an image of some kind of food that you think is interesting looking. So I'm gonna do green jello. Not green hello, green jello. All right, I'm gonna find that image. Let's see which one looks good here. I kind of like this one right here. I'm gonna do the same thing where I right click to open the image in a new tab. And then I'm gonna grab that website link, highlight it, Control C to copy it, go back into my program, file, new image, load URL. Put that in there, boom. All right, so now I've got my tab that I've been working on. I've got my original picture of my person. I'm gonna leave it there for now. I don't know if I'll need it again, but I'll just hold on to it. And I've got my jello. All right, so now what I'm gonna do with this jello, and I'll just go over a few of these and then I'll give some people some time to catch up. What we wanna play with this tool is we're gonna use the lasso tool. All right, so this is kind of how we grab things from the image. And you'll notice again, so everything up here is changed, okay? So there's a couple of different types of lassos. We've got the free tool. So what I can do with that is I can just draw whatever shape. All right, and what I can do from that is copy that, so that's Control C, or I can do Control X and cut it out. All right, so that's kind of what the lasso does, is you can pull something out of it. I don't want to do that exactly. I want to get the whole thing. So that was the free one. Then the polygon one kind of works with each click, you get a different line, okay? This is probably the one that I use the most often, all right? And then there's the Bezier, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This one I probably use the least. This one's a little weird in that it starts like the line one, but then after each click, it does it reacts to how you click the next time, and it gives you a bend. Actually, this jello mold here is probably one of the few times where this sort of lasso actually works pretty well. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's just my own habits, but I don't use this one a whole lot. And yeah, I'm just showing you each of these and deselect. And then the last one is the magnetic one. This is the one that I think a lot of people want to use all the time because it seems like it's going to do something really cool and helpful. So what the magnetic tool does is it tries to kind of detect where an object is. So if I'm like drawing this line along here, it's trying to kind of sense where the edge of something is. And it's doing an okay job. But I always find that, and now I'm just going to kind of show you here what I'm doing. All right. Oh, see there, it got a little goofy on me at the end. So that one's not going to work. I'm just going to work with the polygon one here. And so what I want you to do is when you get your picture of whatever food you're working with, I want you to try to cut it out from the picture that it's in, and then put it in the picture with your person. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll give you some time to do that, and I will be doing that as well. And don't worry about it being perfect. You know, again, we're just kind of playing around here. If I'm not getting the edges perfectly, I'm not really too stressed about it for now. We're not going to be super precise this evening. All right, so I've got that. When it's kind of doing that moving blinking line, that means you have it selected. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to move it over here to my picture with Mr. Buscemi. So I'll give everybody a few minutes or moments to get to that point where you've got your food cut out and it's with your picture of whatever person you're working with. Yes, Ophelia, to answer your question, yes, I'm recording this and I plan on making it accessible. Oops, I just responded to just Sabrina there. Yeah, we will make the video accessible. I'll put this one up as soon as I can, but then I'll probably also try to do like an edited down version, so it's not like an hour-long video that people have to scroll through. But yeah, we'll make this one available as soon as we can. I know this is maybe it's slow moving at first, but once we get some of these basic skills down, there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do with this and playing around. So just keep being patient. we'll be getting pretty silly pretty quick here in the next few minutes. Good there. All right. Bakers are ready to go. Sabrina, are you ready to roll? Next part.
I have it outlined, but I don't know how to save it. That
So you have, so is it like you have this, like I have on my screen now, where it's got that dotted line around it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to do Control C to copy it, and then you want to go over to your tab with where we're kind of mainly working today, and then you're going to do Control V. Is that working?
How do you take it off?
Oh wait, here, just move it right there. That's where it's saved. So you need to go enter. There you go.
I'm fine now.
You got it now? Okay, great. All right, so next thing I want to talk about a little bit, which is probably is the concept of layers in programs like this, which is maybe a new thing for some of you, but it is a big thing that sets programs like this apart from just like, hey Jeff, how's it going? It's been a while. Hello, hello. But all right, anyways, so layers, so when you think about layers, it's almost like these different like clear sheets of glass that has your stuff on it. So like over here on the right, I've got my layers sort of menu. So like right now, my layer with the Jello is above my layer with Steve Buscemi. But if I move that around, you can see now it looks like it's behind it. So it's just like layering different sheets of paper, okay? So that's kind of there. And then my bottom layer is just my blank canvas, okay? So what we want to do with that, I'm just going to move the Jello over to the side for a little bit. And I'm going to zoom in on my person's eye. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use whatever lasso tool you feel most comfortable with. And we are going to, I know this sounds morbid, but we are going to cut out their eye. So I mostly use the polygon tool. I just feel like I have the most control with this one, and it's the least erratic, or I don't know. It's just the one that makes the most sense for me. So I've got that dotted line around it. So now I'm not trying to copy it. I'm not trying to move the eye. Well, I guess I could move it someplace else for now, but I do want to cut it out. So I'm going to use Control X. Oh, I see what I did there. So here, good. I'm glad I made a mistake here. So you'll notice I have that line outlined, but you'll notice over here on the right, the layer that I have selected is not the layer with Steve Buscemi on it. So you need to make sure you have the correct layer selected to be able to cut something out. That's like a mistake I make a lot. So I'm glad I made it here. So now I've got the correct layer selected. I've got the outline, do X. So I've cut out this guy's eyeball. All right, I'm gonna zoom back out here. All right. Now I'm going to show you some other stuff with working with these layers. So what I can do is I could take this Jello, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to make it underneath Mr. Buscemi, and I can make his eyeball look like Jello there. Just a funny little silly thing that you can do. Now, here's where it sometimes gets a little bit messy in working with the layers, because now I have one layer completely on top of another layer. So if I wanted to grab that layer with the Jello, it's a little bit tricky now. It's like I can't grab it. It's just always grabbing the head that's over top of it. So that has to do with some of the settings for that tool. All right. So if I have that selection tool and I come over here, right now it's auto select layer. So if I unclick that, then it's a matter of whatever layer I have selected on the right, and then that's how I can move that around. Some people prefer having this off all the time. Some people prefer having it on all the time. I'm used to it being off because I learned this kind of stuff on Photoshop, and it's not automatically on in Photoshop. So that's just what I've gotten used to. But I do go back and forth a little bit depending on what project I'm on. All right. So that's that so far with the layers. But let me see here. I'm just gonna move some stuff around here real quick. I'm gonna show, let me think. I don't know if I want to get into tricks more just yet. We'll play around with a few more tools, and then we'll get into tricks and let you all play around a little bit. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is a real fun, easy thing to do for people just starting off with programs like this, and that's playing with filters. So filters, you've probably played with filters in other programs before, photo filters and that sort of thing. So with my face of Mr. Buscemi selected, I can go to filter, and I'm going to go to the effect library. And well, this is just some of the stuff that you can do. And it gives you little previews of what some of these filters are going to do. There's a lot of different types of filters. You know, I'm not going to take the time to go through every single one here, but essentially most of them, when you open them up, let me think here, like if I do, probably the one I use, I use Gaussian blur for some things. So when you open a filter, it's going to give you some degree of these different bars to play with that will either make the filter very strong or very weak. But I don't know, you can just kind of play around with them a little bit, see which kind of ones you like. Some of them, again, are going to have multiple lines here. This gives it a sort of like, oh, that's kind of fun. It's like an old TV effect or something. I don't know, but that's like a fun thing to play around with. I'm actually not going to go too nuts with the filters just yet in my picture, but you can all feel free to have some fun with that. Let me think here. Okay. So yeah, take a minute or two to play around with filters. Let me think about which thing we should do next. I think we want to do the blur and healing. All right. I want to see. I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do, if you go ahead and feel free to play around with those filters for a minute. I'm going to actually go ahead and cut out his other eye, but more for a purpose of playing around with it. And this time when I cut out the eye, I'm going to get a bit more of the eyelid. Before I was just trying to get where the eyeball was. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put another eye on his forehead. And I know it's weird, but we're just playing around. And I'll show you some of the tools that you can use to do that. So when you do this time, I want to keep that eye there. I'm just going to add an additional eye. So polygon. I know this is all very weird and strange, but it's I have fun doing this kind of stuff. All right. So yeah, like I said, I want to keep that eye. I just want to add an additional eye. So I'm not going to Control X. I'm going to Control C and then Control V to add that eye there. All right. So I'm going to move this eye up here. All right. I guess I'll put it over here. I didn't realize he's got that big hair in the middle of his head, but that's okay. So I'm going to try to make this eye blend in a bit more. So right now, yeah, there's an extra eye there. But if you wanted to blend it in a bit more, this is where some different tools come into play. But what I need to do, well, I'll show you the tool first, and then I'll show you how to use it a little bit better. So there's this tool, it's called the Heal tool, and I want to make it a bit smaller than that. basically what it does is it takes everything within that circle and it kind of blends it together. So if I'm doing it there, it gets kind of messy. But it only affects whatever layer you're on. So right now, this eye is its own layer. So it's not really blending it in with the edge of his head. So what I need to do is I need to combine that layer to the rest of his head. So again, this is something that there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Probably the way I usually do it is I make sure the image I'm adding to another image is on top. All right. And then I'm going to go to layer. Oops, I keep getting the video screen gets in my way. So I'm going to go to layer and I'm going to go to merge down. All right. Now that eye is part of the head. Okay. But now when I use this heal tool, I tend to call it the blend tool. I guess that's probably what it's called in Photoshop, but it's all the same. Now when I use this, now it's blending in with the area around it. You could do a larger area at once, but I tend to just take it a little bit at a time. I feel like I get a better blend that way. Excuse me. All right, now when I zoom out, now that eyeball is fitting in there quite a bit more. All right, but I feel like we still need to do something with this other eye. I'm going to do something with the jello later, so I'm going to just find something else to go in that other eye. How about we look for a robot eye? See if we can find an image of a robot eye. These are kind of cool. Let's see. Maybe just this one right here will work. All right, so again, right click, open image, a new tab, get that link there, go back into my program file, new image, load URL. Boom. All right. I don't need now, so I'm going to put this in that eye slot. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. I'm not going to worry about being super neat about it because actually I already have a nice neat hole cut out of his eye, and hopefully you'll see what I mean by that in a second. So I'm going to get that, but I'm not going to be super precise about it. Go over here, Control V. All right, I know it needs to be a bit smaller than that. I'm going to line it up basically where I want it to be, but then I need to play with the layers and just make that go below there. Now he's got a robot eye as well. All right, I feel like I went through a lot of stuff there. I'll give people a minute to play around and ask questions and get caught up. And again, if you've got questions, please just go ahead and call out. We've got a small group this evening, so easy to help everyone out. If you are running into issues, we can try to let you share your screens so I can take a look at it. This actually works out pretty well, as long as the internet's working well, which thankfully it is. I thought we were going to be out of luck this evening, but it came through. One thing I'm going to do just while people are getting caught up, I'm going to go ahead and label my layers just so I can keep them straight. So this is and you'll notice if you uncheck one of the layers, you won't be able to see it. So that's one way you can check what you're working on. So the way I'm changing the name, I'm just right clicking on the layer. If you are cut up, feel free to play around with some of the other tools. Again, that's why I've done most of my learning. Sometimes it can get frustrating because you'll back yourself into a corner or something like that. But if that happens, that's what I'm here for as well. And once you all get, relatively comfortable with programs like this, a lot of the stuff like built into the curriculum, you do have the option to do digitally if you prefer to do that, rather than doing things with, paper glue or whatever. The main project that comes to mind right off the top of my head is the Surreal Collage project. As you can see, my image here has already gotten pretty surreal. So, if you prefer to be cutting things out digitally versus with an X-Acto knife, you might want to try that project with a program like this. How are we doing out there? Are people ready to try some other stuff out?
Good.
I'm good.
Okay. I'm feeling you're saying good. Okay. Let me think. What do we want to do next here? Let's see. One thing that's kind of interesting about this program, which is the one, oh, never mind. We don't want to do that one yet. Let me think. Oh, we'll play around with dodging and burning. So this is, I'm going to zoom in on here just so we kind of get an idea behind it. So when I click on this one, it looks like a circle that's split diagonally. That's the, oh, I need to have a layer selected. All right. So with his face selected, so dodging and burning is essentially lightening and darkening an area. Again, there's a lot of minuscule ways you can play with this tool. We're just going to get into it very broadly. So right now I've got the lighten one selected. So all this is going to do is just kind of lighten up an area. You know, so if you had something that was like too in the dark, you know, like I can't really see where his hair ends here. Maybe I wanted to like highlight that a bit more. I could try to do that. I don't really have a fun thing to do with this. I guess we could do darken and give him real sleepy looking eyes here. But what it tries to do is keep it, you know, it's not just adding black to it. It's trying to keep it, you know, it's looking at the color that's there and making it a darker version of that color. So that can come in handy at some points. Again, if you're trying to blend something in with another area, you might want to use that. The liquefy tool is just a fun one to kind of play around with. I'm going to go a lot smaller than that. You know, what this does is it just kind of, let me zoom out so we get a better effect here. Actually, we'll go a little bit bigger than that. Maybe there. All right. So what you can do with this is you can click and hold, and it just kind of turns it a little liquidy. You know, that liquefy is a pretty good term for this tool. This, you know, this is not maybe, I don't have a lot of times where I specifically need to do liquefy, but it is a fun thing to play around with. Okay. I guess next we'll go into, I probably should have done this first because the cloning tool is very similar to the healing brush. It just kind of works a bit differently. So let me think, where do I want to try this out at? I'm going to zoom in on his neck. I know that's a little bit weird, but just to kind of have something to work with. These advertisements, they get me. All right. So when I have the clone tool selected, first you'll notice it's going to automatically highlight a source. So what that means is when I select a source, I'm choosing what I want the next thing I do to kind of imitate. So again, this could be a blending thing. Actually, I'm going to move up a little bit. So maybe what I want to do is I want to take this sort of like little bit of beard stubble that he has in his chin, and I want to make it look like that on more of his face. So I've got the source. I'm going to kind of just click some of that. And now I'm going to bring some of that up here. You'll notice it gets a little funky. It doesn't always work continuously. What I often do is try to like just resource something. And, you know, a lot of times I'll use this tool in combination with the heal tool, just to kind of even things out a little bit. But it can get really out of control real quick and start to not look very real. But there's times that it comes in handy. Again, if you're trying to repair an image or take something out of an image, it can work there. I think what I want to do is I want to give my picture here a new background. Because, yeah, I just have this jello here. So I want to cut out his head. So I'm going to make sure I have that layer selected. Now there is, if you get this is one slight thing, if you have the paid version, they have an auto cut out thing that you can do. And yeah, it's not going to let me do it because I don't have the paid version. But and I don't know, in the videos it looks like it works pretty well, where it kind of detects where the edge of something is and just gets rid of the background real quick. But I'm not, you know, again, I'm just playing around today, so I'm just going to cut it out myself. And again, I'm not trying to be super perfect. I'm just having some fun today. Just kind of get them very generally cut out, just so we can play around with the background a bit. Oh yeah, he's gonna get kind of weird. I really cut it out weird around his ear, but that's okay. All right, so if I wanted to cut out everything, so right now it's captured his head, but I actually want to get rid of everything else on that layer. So what I can do with that selected is I can go to select, and I can go to invert selection. All right, and that's going to copy everything else, and then I can do Control X, and it gets rid of that background. Okay. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is kind of show you a funny little trick as far as playing with your layers and kind of doing some of these surreal collage sort of techniques. And it's kind of playing around with the edge of something. So I'm going to play around with the edge of his mouth here. And I guess just watch what I'm going to do. I don't know if I have the best way to explain what I'm doing, but I'll try to talk you through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy part of his face here, and I'm going to make the edge of what I'm copying go right along his teeth here. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of go a bit up his face here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control copy that. Oh, whoop. See, it did that thing. I didn't have the right layer selected. All right. Control copy, Control V. So it gave me this other layer here. But what I want to do, yeah, I mean, that looks pretty funny already, is I want to line this up with where it was. So you don't see that there's a secret hidden layer there, okay? But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play around with my layers, and I'm going to move the jello to be between his head and what I just copied and added there. And now when I do it, I can make it look like he's eating the jello or spitting the jello out, or I don't know. I don't know what he's doing, but something weird's going on with that jello. So that's a fun way you can just play around with like the edge of something. You know, you could make something come out of his nose like that, or coming out of his ear, you know, just little sort of silly ways that you can play around with it. Let's see, we don't have a ton of time left. I was going to get more into playing around with the background. Let me stop sharing for a moment and just kind of check in on everybody. How are we doing?
Good. Good.
Good.
Good.
Okay, we're doing good. I'm feeling Ida doing good. Sabrina, how are you doing over there?
Good.
Good. So, you know, we are going to kind of continue this series of doing some digital art for the next few Wednesdays. We'll continue working with Pixlr a bit next week. My plan for next week is to kind of continue some of the stuff we work with today, but maybe try to do a bit more of a complicated project. I don't know. I have to play around with it a bit more myself, but essentially the idea is doing a hybrid of an animal and an object. I've done it a lot with just drawing, and that's fun, but we can try to do some different things digitally as well. But I encourage you between, you know, today and next Wednesday, if you enjoy this kind of thing, just play around with the program. It doesn't hurt to make a mistake. If you come up with something and it looks like complete garbage, no worries. That's, you know, one of the great things about working digitally is we're not wasting a bunch of materials to experiment. So that is certainly a big upside to it. But play around with it. If you have a question between now and next week, by all means, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll see what I can do about helping you out. But do we have any questions before we kind of wrap things up? I have one or two more things I just want to show. I just want to show you about saving stuff and whatnot. But before I get into that, oh, cool, great. Great, great. So I'm just going to share my screen for another minute just to kind of show you about kind of finishing things up for the day. So because this is an online program, it is constantly saving for you. So, you know, when I saved before, that was just saving I think a PNG file of it onto my computer. But as far as it being a workable file to work with, it's already in your account. So when I go to home, it's all those other images that we worked with, it's saved those as well. Now, if you know you're not going to be using all of these again and you're just going to go back to that original project, sometimes I just like to kind of get rid of those just so I don't have 1.5 million things to organize in my account. But, you know, work with it however you want. How do I rename you? I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to rename this, but I am not seeing it.
Click on view up in the
Well, I'm not too worried about it. It's there. It's untitled for now. I guess I'm forgetting how to rename things. All right. How to do that? Okay. All right. Is that it? All right. Have a good night, everybody. It's nice seeing you all. Take care. Sabrina, any quick questions for me before we call it a night?
No.
Do you want to share your? Let me see. If I have you set up to share a screen. Are you able to share your screen? I'm just curious of what you came up with today.
I'm not very sure how to.
Okay. What kind of computer are you on? Are you on a Chromebook or a laptop or?
Laptop.
So it should be on the Zoom screen when you like hover over the main window, like where everybody's video is. There we go. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you played around. You gave her a hat. You played around with the eyes a bit. That's great. All right. Yeah, you're getting the hang of it. Very cool. Do you have any questions for me before we call it a night?
No.
Okay. So like I said, you know, feel free to play around with it some more. And we'll kind of continue with some of these skills next week. All right.
Okay.
All right. Great. Thanks for joining us tonight, Sabrina.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.